Continuing the series which I started on using investor quotes and trying to talk about them, let's take a very old Peter Lynch quote which has been used very often, saying if you're prepared to invest in a company, then you ought to be able to explain why in simple language that a fifth grader could understand and quickly enough so that the fifth grader would not get bored. Never invest in any idea which you can't illustrate with a crayon. This sounds very sexy and very great when you put it down on paper, and you want to be quoted for the rest of your life or the quote's life. But look at it this way: how many companies can you really understand what it does? Can you really understand what Reliance does? It's a very complicated company. Earlier, sometime in the 80s, when I used to do research around the petro business, I used to tell people in Reliance, the only thing I understand is you pour oil on one end and you have clothes coming out of the other end, and in between what you do is a big black box for me. I don't understand whether what is DMT, what is PTA, what was being removed halfway and being sold, what was being removed at a second stage so that you could hit competition harder. You had no cost of transferring internally. If you couldn't understand, even when it was a simple product of a petrochemical, because you would never understood at what price he was able to sell, why he was able to buy things at a cheaper price. I have not been able to understand, but I have been able to make money, right? Like a thing to enjoy a good omelette, you need not know how to lay an egg. So let us look at some simple companies which you can understand. Do you understand why HDFC Bank makes more money than ICICI Bank? I think it's very difficult to understand. I also understand that ICICI Bank has some advantages, that it is the holding company for the AMC, for the insurance, life insurance, general insurance, stock broking, etc. So ICICI Bank is more a holding company than an HDFC Bank, because HDFC Bank subsidiaries are the only subsidiary it has is HDFC Securities, which is not listed. So there's no sum of part valuation. Sum of part valuation happens in HDFC Limited. Do you understand what Amazon does? I don't. Do you understand what Google does? I don't. We know it's a search engine, but that does not explain its revenues. It's cloud computing, all those things explain the revenue. I don't understand what's happening. However, in the last 5 years, I've made money in the US markets by investing in one fund, right? So don't carry it too much to heart, because there are some technology companies which you will never be able to understand what they are doing. Broadly, if you understand what they are doing, that's enough. You have to see whether they've got good ability to attract talent, whether they're ahead of the curve in terms of technology. Don't get into the detailing. It's very difficult to do so. However, if you say a bank or something like that, the business which you understand, then find out the reasons. You will say, oh, it's got better net interest margins. That's nice. You do not know whether it will happen in the future, but at least you know what are the guiding posts, what do analysts look for, etc. You need to understand all those things when you are investing. And it's also nice to learn from other people's mistakes. The often quoted example is Hitler did not learn from Napoleon and paid the price. We should try to learn from other people's mistakes than our own mistakes. So that is one thing which is very clear, that if you can make it more and more simple, the chances are you will not make too many mistakes in what you're buying. However, to know why you have to buy, for example, 4 or 5 years ago, I sold off Asian Paints. I bought Berger Paints, and I made good money in Berger Paints. And I have nothing against Asian Paints, but I made money in Berger Paints. So what is so wrong? You don't have to own the market leader to be doing well. Yes, it's nice if you got the market leader at a reasonable price, but if you did not get the market leader at a reasonable price, and you found a number 2 was very well managed, professionally managed, and things like that, and you get good PE and more attractive and less sexy, so less appealing to the crowds, that's still fine. You can make money. It's a dull, boring company which you can make money. Largely try to understand what a company does, but that is not the be all and end all. Try reading up what are the advantages, why you think Amazon will remain to be significant 20 years later, 10 years later, right? Or why you're very sure that anyway Procter & Gamble and Colgate and HUL will survive, because people will need toothpaste and shampoos and what have you, right? Or Gillette will survive because people will need blades, right? You understand those things. If you can't understand technology, Still you will have to buy the shares, but be guided by what others are doing, what fund managers are doing, and come for some of those. You can always come through a mutual fund. That is the other option that you have. If you don't understand what a company is doing, you say, okay, I don't understand, but I will have a mutual fund portfolio. If the fund house has invested in those companies, I don't care. But in my direct investments, I will only care about those companies which I understand, so that I will know when to buy and when to sell, or when I think it is fully priced. Now there are companies which you can hold for 30, 40, 50 years, and then suddenly say, okay, I think that best part of this company is over, now I'll sell. Perfectly all right, doing all these things. Thank you.